Hey, 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 it's all the bad jokes for March and April 2026. Well, I thought it was funny. What hyphenated name did the tailor give to his daughter? Polly Esther. Why was the elevator angry? Because people kept pushing all of its buttons. Why don't eggs tell jokes? They're afraid they might crack each other up. Soon I'll be able to say goodbye to my winter fat and say hello to my spring rolls. My wife claims she can wax off all of my chest hair in one fell swoop, but honestly, I don't think she can pull it off. Do you know how they cut the Roman Empire in half? They used a pair of Caesars. Pickles are fantastic, until you're in one. I scraped my elbow digging for coal the other day. It's nothing to worry about though, just a minor injury. Did you hear about the constipated composer? He couldn't finish his last movement. I went to see my psychiatrist because I've had a Tom Jones song stuck in my head for over a year. And I asked him, is that common? And his response was, it's not unusual. Show me Stalin's grave and I'll show you a communist plot. I know a guy who used to be addicted to Tide Pods. He's clean now. I used to work for a blanket company until it folded. You know, not all construction work is equally enjoyable. For example, enlarging a drilled hole, that's boring. But fastening two pieces of metal together, that, my friend, is riveting. It's always a bad idea to iron your four-leaf clover. You should never press your luck. I bought my friend a telepathic abacus. I mean, after all, it is the thought that counts. Someone stole my thesaurus. I'm at a loss for words. I knew a farmer that had 100 female pigs and 100 male deer. He was really well off. I mean, after all, he had a couple $100,000. I asked my mom if I was a gifted child, and she said, well, there's no way we would have paid for you. What do polar bears and plumbers have in common? They both appreciate a good seal. My landlord wanted to talk to me about my heating bill, and I said, well, of course, my door's always open. I often forget why I threw away my boomerang. And then it hits me. You know you've reached middle age when all you exercise is caution. I used to date a girl who loved to be covered in cheese. You might even say she was a real cracker. The fact that Mini Driver exists makes me believe that there must be a Maxi or a Mega Driver out there somewhere. Our high school music teacher was very controversial. He insisted we only read banned books. I've heard that old cashiers never die. They just check out. My friend Terry and I were watching a game when he asked me if it was normal for commentators to give their opinions. And I said, it's common, Terry. My wife was working on a crossword puzzle when she asked me, what's another word for an overworked postal worker? How many letters, I asked. Well, I guess too many, was her reply. If Watson isn't the most famous doctor, then who is? While watching hockey on the weekend, the wife and I got on the subject of life, death, and living wills. And I told her I never want to exist in a vegetative state, dependent on some machine and taking nutrients from a bottle. That's when she got up, turned off the TV, and dumped out my beer. A man brought his Rottweiler to the vet because he was cross-eyed. And he asked the vet, is there anything you could do for him? The vet said, well, let's see. And he picks up the dog, and he stares in the dog's face, and he says, I'm afraid I'm going to have to put him down. And the man says, why, because he's cross-eyed? He goes, no, because he's very heavy. How does a penguin build a house? He glues it together. I quit my job as a treadmill tester. I just felt like I was going nowhere. Sure, Bing Crosby was good, but can you imagine how much better he would have been if he was Google Crosby? Three strings decide to go out for a drink one night, but when they arrive at the bar, they see that there's a sign on the door that says no strings allowed. First string says, well, that can't be right. He walks in, and immediately the bartender says, hey, are you a string? He says, well, yes, I am. Kicks him out immediately. Second string says, well, let me give it a shot. He walks in, bartender says, hey, are you a string? He says, yes, I am. Kicks him out immediately. Third one says, I'm gonna try something. He ruffles up both of his ends, twists himself up a little bit, and walks into the bar. Bartender says, hey, are you a string? He says, no, afraid not. I tried to start a professional hide-and-seek league, but it never took off. Turns out good players are hard to find. I thought wearing a belt made out of watches would make me look cool. Turns out it's just a huge waste of time. I decided to finally throw out my old boomerang. The fact that it never came back makes me think that it might have been a fake. Sometimes the only way to make it through life is to be a vacuum cleaner. Just suck it all up. What's a ghost's favorite part of a party? All the booze. I invented a thought-controlled air freshener. My wife thinks it's dumb, but it makes sense when you think about it. What do you call 100 baby sheep sliding down a hill? A lamb slide. Like most people my age, I'm 56. My wife told me, don't get upset that people call you fat. You're bigger than that. I've heard that it can be very frustrating being a tall comedian. Apparently a lot of your jokes go over people's heads. How do you know when a dad joke is a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. Heisenberg, Schrödinger, and Ohm were traveling in a car. Heisenberg was driving when the police pulled him over. Police officer says to him, do you have any idea how fast you were going? Heisenberg says, no, but I know exactly where I am. He says, well, you were doing 65 and a 55, buddy. Then Heisenberg throws his hands up in the air and says, great, now I have no idea where I am. Police officer, thinking this is all a little too weird, says, I want you to pop the trunk. Pops the trunk, takes a look inside, sees a dead cat. And he yells to the guys, do you guys know you have a dead cat in here? Schrödinger yells, well, we do now, jerk. Police officer, thinking it was all a little too weird, moves to arrest everybody. Ohm, of course, resisted. I was going to look for my lost watch this morning, but I couldn't be bothered to find the time. I know a guy that sued the airline over lost luggage. He lost his case. I was at a restaurant in Hawaii when I ordered the lava cake. We had to abandon the place immediately. Mainstream archaeology doesn't exist anymore. It's all underground. When life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. Well, my cat was just arrested for littering. Penguin walks into an airport when the security guard stops and says, sorry, buddy. Penguins can't fly. I caught my neighbor stealing my socks off my clothesline. I was gonna confront him, but I got cold feet. I'm a social vegan. I avoid any kind of meat. When I first met my wife, I told her I was named after Thomas Jefferson. She said, that's crazy, your name's Lee. I said, yeah, but I was named way after him. The first time I used a universal remote, I thought to myself, this changes everything. I was gonna make a stew last night, but I gave up. The recipe called for 3 potatoes cubed. 27 potatoes is a lot of potatoes for one meal. A zookeeper walks into the bar with a monkey, a parrot, and an elephant. And the bartender says, hey, you can't bring all those animals in here. And the zookeeper says, well, why not? Because, well, first we need to discuss the elephant in the room. What do you call a single noid? A noid. What do you call a double noid? Paranoid. Some guy just threw milk at me. How dare he? While it's been said that birds of a feather flock together, birds that do flock together are actually Velcros. That joke was murder. Not many people know this, but I studied dad jokes in university. That's right, I've got a degree in psychology. What do you call a single dog? A dog. What do you call 2 dogs? A paradox. I used to have a singing cow. She sounded great, but all she sang was mood music. Geology rocks, but geography? That's where it's at. I'm starting to think I might not need a spine. I mean, it's just holding me back. You know, I was just wondering, if Apple ever made a car, do you think they'd include windows? What's the best time to go to the dentist? When it's 2:30. Currently reading a book about anti-gravity, and I gotta say, it's very uplifting. My very first job was in an orange juice factory. Unfortunately, I got canned. Apparently, I just couldn't concentrate. I accidentally sprayed some cheap body spray in my mouth, and now I talk with a bad accent. I eat English muffins because I don't want to bother with a translator every time I want breakfast. What do you call a deer with no eyes? No idea. What do you call that same deer with no legs? Still no idea. The reversible jacket I ordered for Easter dinner should be arriving soon. I can't wait to see how it turns out. This coffee is so strong that I'm starting to think it's bench pressing my mood. It seems to me that cottage cheese is not a cheese at all. It's just occurred to me. Careful folks, there's an email going around offering free salted pork in a can. Whatever you do, do not open it. It's definitely spam. Remember friends, you can always tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. People who breed crows are responsible for murder. My neighbor and I have been friends for a long time, so we finally decided to share a water supply. We got along well. What do you call an indecisive potato? A hesitator. I just got a job in a factory making plastic Draculas. There's only 2 of us on the production line, so I have to make every second count. When I was a kid, I could walk into a store with $1, walk out with 3 sodas, 2 bags of chips, and a chocolate bar. Nowadays, they have cameras everywhere. I burnt my Hawaiian pizza last night. I guess I should have cooked it on Aloha setting. My half-brother and I aren't allowed to play with chainsaws anymore. I tried writing jokes about retirement, but, none of them worked. Whoever invented Benadryl is a genius. It's impossible to sneeze, cough, and suffer from allergies when you're in a temporary coma. By far, the worst thing about eating a clock is passing time later. A good friend of mine called me in a panic saying he'd been turned into a harp, so I rushed over there just to find out that he's a liar. What do you get when you cross a police officer and a skunk? Law and odor. I'm in the process of writing a book about hurricanes and tornadoes, but at the moment it's just a draft. I read an article yesterday about the dangers of drinking coffee. It left me terrified. So that's it. From now on, I'm giving up reading. Have you heard about the guy that got his left side cut off? Well, he's all right now. Did you know that all garden gnomes wear red hats? Yeah, I thought you did. It's a well-known fact. If you have bladder problems, you're in trouble. I was working at a pharmacy when a guy came up to me and asked me if I had cotton balls. I said, "What do I look like? A teddy bear?" My friend David had his ID stolen. We call him Dav now. Claustrophobia is the fear of closed spaces. For example, like when I'm walking to the bar and I'm afraid it might be closed. I helped a friend move into his new place, and in gratitude he gave me 2 small aquariums. That's the tanks I get. I was so confused last night when my printer started playing music. Turns out the paper was just jamming. Some people say the grass doesn't get wet in the morning, but it do. I'd like to thank the Oxford Dictionary for teaching me the definition of plethora. It means a lot. I went my whole life figuring I'd never get a phone call from a vegetable. And then one day, onion rings. When it comes to poker chips, do you prefer potato or corn? Bacon and eggs walk into a restaurant. The host puts up her hand and says, "Hey, we don't serve breakfast here." Some people always need their opinions validated. I mean, am I right? Huh? Am I right? My cell phone accidentally took a 10-minute video of my shoes. I mean, it was some good footage. Annie is short for Anakin, and R2 is short for R2-D2. You know what Luke is short for? A stormtrooper. On that note, I've got a driving tip for you. If you find yourself driving through heavy fog or snow, put on a Star Wars stormtrooper helmet. That way you're sure not to hit anything. Do you know why circus lions never eat clowns? Because they taste funny. Today I learned that humans eat more bananas than monkeys, which kind of makes sense to me because I don't know anyone who's ever eaten a monkey. I just saw on the news last night that the old Energizer Bunny has been sentenced to a year in prison for battery. If you happen to be the person who lost the 15 $100 bills wrapped in a green elastic band last night in front of the Scotiabank Saddledome, I found your elastic band. It's 420E, friends, so don't forget to leave out a plate of cookies and some milk for Snoop Dogg tonight. Did you know that all baby frogs are part Eastern European? That's right, they're a tadpole. What do you call a laughing motorcycle? A Yamaha. What do British people call their mom if she's really small? Minimum. Did you know that Lady Godiva is considered the first female jockey? Well, she didn't win. She definitely showed. I just had a stack of toilet paper rolls fall on me. Luckily, I survived with only soft tissue damage. I went to school for magicians for 4 years, but I failed the final exam. It was full of trick questions. Why did the pepper put on a sweater? Because it was a little chilly. On the first day of my diet, I removed all the fatty food from the home. Man, that was delicious. I paid a clown to deliver flowers to my wife. I thought it'd be a romantic gesture. You know, time flies like an arrow, but fruit flies, they like a banana. Why is it if you donate 1 kidney, you're a hero, but if you donate 5, they call the police on you? They say money talks, but mine only ever says one thing, and that's goodbye. I asked my wife if I was the only one she's ever been with, and she said yes. All the other ones were 9s and 10s. What's the difference between an athletic rabbit and a dad joke? One's a fit bunny, and the other one's a bit funny. Well, apparently it's rude to tap somebody on the forehead when they're talking too much and say skip intro. I know a guy so filthy that when he finally did shower, the local smog alert was lifted. The magician said, pick a card, any card. So I took his Visa. My wife says I can be an idiot sometimes. It's nice of her to give me permission. Someday, when the technology's caught up, I'm gonna buy a 3D printer, take it home, print a slightly smaller 3D printer, and then return that 3D printer that I just bought. A woman walks into the house holding a duck and says, "This is the pig I sleep with." Her husband looks up and says, "But that's a duck." And she says, "I was talking to the duck." A pirate walks into a bar wearing a tricorn hat, a parrot on his shoulder, an eye patch, and a small ship's wheel attached to his belt buckle. The bartender says, "Look, I understand the hat, the eye patch, the parrot, but what's up with the ship's wheel? Because, yarr, it drives me nuts. Somebody glued my deck of cards together. I don't know how to deal with it. I'm a retired dog walker. I figure working dogs can afford their own staff." I cracked a joke to my therapist and she sighed and immediately started writing in her notebook. I'm pretty sure she's stealing my jokes. A Roman walks into the bar, holds up 2 fingers and orders 5 beers. "Have you heard about corduroy pillows? They're making headlines. I bought a new album called Wasp Noises, but while I was listening to it, I realized nothing sounds like a wasp here." That's when I noticed I was playing the B-side. I got good news from my doctor yesterday. He called me up and told me he can eliminate my disease. And I asked him, "Well, what's the cure?" He says, "Well, the Cure is an 80s rock band, but let's try to stay focused here." To whoever needs to hear this, please stop leaving your flyers in my car. I have no interest in seeing your band parking violations perform at the courthouse. I'm so slow, I could be gin. Did you see Niagara Falls? Well, did you offer to help her up? A guy goes to see his doctor about a blocked ear. The doctor asks, "Which ear is it?" 2026, he replies. "The last time I was at the airport, a woman fainted and fell onto the luggage carousel. It was okay. She slowly came around." There you have it, my friends. All the jokes I told in our videos for March and April 2026. And I'd love to tell your jokes, my friends. I'm here 4 days a week telling jokes. So why not leave your jokes as a comment on today's video or send them to me via email at jokes@wellithoughtitwasfunny.com. I want to tell your jokes, folks. And I am here 4 days a week, every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, and every Sunday with a fresh batch of these stale jokes just for you, my friends. If you are having some fun, getting a chuckle here and there, and you want to show your appreciation, I would love it if you considered dropping a couple of bucks in our tip jar at donate.wellithoughtitwasfunny.com. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you can help us keep the lights on, keep the joke machine rolling, and keeping our imaginary cow fed. But friends, you know what I really want? I want you folks to keep laughing. Want to help us out and look good at the same time? Head over to store.wellithoughtitwasfunny.com where we've got t-shirts, hoodies, 3/4 sleeve rock shirts. We got coffee cups. We've got to-go cups. We've got stickers. Check it out today, folks. That's store.wellithougitwasfunny.com.